Have you ever wanted to win? I mean, really wanted to win. The selfish desire to crush every enemy in front of you like twigs and ascend to the heights of victory like the god you are. Have you ever played a game that requires teamwork and cursed the universe for making you the only one with talent? If that's you, Blue Lock gets you. A soccer manga that borders on the insane and revels in the narcissistic tendencies of its football players, massaging their egos and skyrocketing them to the heavens, all in hopes of creating the world's greatest striker, the one-of-one power forward that can score more goals than anyone else in the whole universe. Blue Lock has its own selection of self-absorbed, egotistical assholes that all prioritize their own victory and goals over everyone else. It's a team-style game that actually rewards solo carriers for their uniqueness, for once punishing the teams that aren't able to keep up with the lead. Players like Shido Ryusei, who are so selfish, so self-centered, and so bad at working in team settings, are praised for their individuality instead of being knocked down like a peg in some sick form of crab mentality. There are too many egoists to count, all fighting for supremacy, trying to bring home the World Cup and reclaim Japan's glory. But what if the Neo-Egotist League was able to draft outside of its universe? What 11 players would make up the most devastating and narcissistic Blue Lock team of all time? Hit that like button and let's lock the fuck off. Considering a full team in Blue Lock consists of 11 full-fledged strikers, all fighting amongst themselves to drive the soccer ball home into the goal, there doesn't really need to be any rhyme or reason to these draft choices. It's because of this, the only real requirement to making the cut of this football team is aura, and who's got the most of it. For that reason, our first draft pick has to be Vegeta, Prince of all Saiyans. A character whose pride is 99% of what he cares about, with the other 1% being split between family, eating, and sleeping. As the only remaining lineage of planet Vegeta and one of the last Saiyans in existence, Vegeta fights tooth and nail every single day of his life to achieve his maximum power level, putting his rivalry with Goku above all else, and being unwilling to settle the score even after he died for 7 years, training every single day, sometimes with no real reason other than because he wants to be the strongest Saiyan of all time. If you were to tell Vegeta that Kakarot was on the other side of that soccer team, using every last bit of his strength to get a ball in the goal wouldn't seem like such a waste of time. And I mean, the man has a transformation in Super called Ultra Ego. He should be the definition of what Ego Kenpachi would want in his program. Next up is our first curveball, but I think the explanation for why should speak for itself. Tanjiro Kamado, protagonist of Demon Slayer, in my opinion, has more than enough ego and guts to make it in the Blue Lock League. While Tanjiro is one of the most selfless people in his universe, to the point he's actually awakened something called the selfless state, placing Tanjiro in a trance that eliminates any sense of fighting spirit or bloodlust from his body. While the person in this trance appears tranquil, as if they were a plant soaring in the wind, they are just as, if not more lethal than ever before, able to perceive movement and react to opponents in ways that are almost too confusing to keep up with. And combined with the Transcendent World, an ability that allows Demon Slayers to perceive their opponent's actions down to minuscule muscle movements, Tanjiro's eyes might just work even better on the field than Blue Lock's own metavision. And because of the selfless state making Tanjiro unpredictable, no enemy team will be able to see where he plans to take that ball. Plus, that sense of smell, you bet your ass Tanjiro's smelling goals from miles away on that football field. Player number 3 is Sasuke Uchiha, the Avenger that was willing to take on all of the world's hatred and become a Shadow Kage capable of controlling the entire ninja world through chaos and revolution. Even Kishimoto Sensei, when asked what his motivations behind creating Sasuke were, was develop a character with a doer attitude that could move the story along. A lot of people sit around and think of how the world should be or what could have or should have been, whereas Sasuke takes that fate into his own hands, willing to bear the burdens or risks of whatever action he makes, as long as Sasuke believes it's the right decision at the right time. At the age of 13, Sasuke was willing to abandon all of his friends, home, and way of life for the chance of revenge at his older brother Itachi, who killed his entire clan. This hatred kept Sasuke burning like an inferno for almost a decade, and within moments of achieving his goal and discovering he was wrong about his brother, Sasuke picks himself up by his bootstraps and sets his hatred in sights of the entire Leaf Village, a whole governmental organization. Bro attacked the 5 Kage summit by himself and then shot a lightning blade through Karen, his own ally, to get to Danzo. Listen, Sasuke's been a pillar of aura in anime and manga for almost 3 decades now. Also, Sharingan, bro, precognition, hypervision, copying techniques. Ryo Mikage's 99% copies used to be impressive. After Sasuke, I think I'd have to go with the mad clown Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter, a man whose one and only care in the world is battling to the death with an opponent who is able to equally match Hisoka's freak. Hisoka's willing to do anything to get his satisfaction, and I mean satisfaction in the most weirdly sexual way possible. Shido will not be the only one changing their pants 3 times a game with this clown in action, and we've already seen the kind of energy Hisoka brings to a sports competition just based on how hard he went in the Greed Island dodgeball game, breaking multiple fingers and taking near lethal damage, all in service of getting the true victory that Gon wanted. This was also an excellent display of Hisoka's ability to work as a team, which is surprising for such a self-serving sociopath. Hisoka is not the type of egoist that needs the spotlight on him. In fact, he's more than happy playing dirty and underhanded to get exactly what he wants, whether the enemy sees it coming or not. This is the same person that deceived the entire Phantom Troop for almost 3 years. Blue Lock would be the perfect place for Hisoka to constantly find new soccer players to demolish. At least so long as Hisoka doesn't get canceled for that whole pedo thing. Also, Hisoka is extremely smart, and that's important because while it's all good to build a team consisting of only powerhouses, even a team of strikers needs a sense of strategy or playbook with plans to follow. That's why, in order to buff up our team's intelligence, my next 2 egoists to draft will be the big brain duo of Lelouch Lamperouge and Ryuzaki L. Lelouch makes up for what he lacks in agility with his adaptability and analytical mind. Even before his transformation into a major terrorist leader, Lelouch is playing high-stakes chess for money, and on his first try, he successfully leads a rebellion group against the Britannian army just by being able to communicate his ideas and look at the battlefield from a bird's-eye point of view. Had Lelouch's mental state not been ruined through the threat of Nunnally's safety in the first Black Rebellion, he would have conquered the capital of Area 11 and proven his wit over an entire empire. His understanding of the soccer field and ability to play the game out like a game of chess ignites his team's win rate significantly. Gias is also great as a back-end defender and final string because Lelouch can last resort brainwash an enemy striker to miss every shot you take or pass the ball to my teammates. And even though Gias only works once on every player, it's a great desperation move to keep in the team's back pocket. And as for L, I could say mostly a lot of the same things. He's the world's greatest detective that's been known to solve almost every single case he's been given, breaking people down completely in seconds and fully analyzing them as people. L's autism, his big brain, allows L to weave hundreds of possibilities or scenarios together, weighing them all on a basis of percentage. Basically having one giant flowchart in his brain that can constantly shift, maneuver. Have you ever played Alan Wake 2? It's kind of like that. L's disregard for emotions and also just average human decency in general will also make his analytical skills even more efficient, as he'll never be held back by wanting to see the good in others or just outright making others uncomfortable with the decisions that he makes. Like, imagine L found out Chigiri's knees were weak. Bro would just tell his teammates to juke around and break bro's ankles. Chigiri's soccer career is not L's concern. Also, have you seen this man throw those kicks in the second Death Note OP? Put some balls in front of those feet.
I beg your pardon?
Just to keep stocking the team with big brain players, the next draft pick is gonna go to my man, young Joseph Joestar, who, in a combination with his almost precognition levels of analytical prediction and playmaking, is still fresh from the era when Hirohiko Araki was drawing people's muscles bigger than their fucking heads. Bro is in shape. But as a tank, Joseph does not sell. Joseph anticipates his opponent's next moves and can always meet it with something even more unpredictable that they will not be able to keep up with. And he also has his Joestar special technique, run the fuck away, and he slips in behind, traps a pass, and creates an open line right to the goal. Joseph's Hamon would amplify his strikes with sunlight energy, and his little spinning balls could probably knock out a tooth or two before a referee's even able to notice. Also, not for nothing, beating Japanese people in a soccer game and taking away their World Cup is exactly the kind of thing that old Joseph would love to hold over that country. And since we're on the topic of himbos, let's talk about my next draft pick, Itadori Yuji, the pinnacle of physical fitness and athleticism in Jujutsu Kaisen, that even before eating Sukuna's finger and awakening cursed energy was already able to exceed the potential of what an average human being could accomplish, having a famous reputation in his hometown as the Tiger of West Junior High due to his ability to constantly break athletic records and apparently win the Ninja Warrior game show. This man is introduced in the first chapter as being able to baseball pitch a fucking shot put 30 whole meters. I would have to imagine Itadori's already a beast at soccer and probably loves playing it. Now that he's known the spark of cursed energy and a sorcerer's selfishness, Yuji's ego might take football a whole lot differently now. And I can only imagine what a Black Flash would look like when put behind a soccer ball. Next up is a draft decision that's almost too obvious, even though it would follow the whole main character trend I've been setting to select Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach. To be honest with you, it would be an honor to make a striker out of the boy who called an ambulance ahead of time for the 5 people whose asses he was about to beat. The only real choice when it comes to the peak of egotistical prowess is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Kenpachi Zaraki. Now, one of the most interesting things that we learn about Zaraki in the 1,000-Year Blood War is that he has been subconsciously lowering his power level when facing his enemies in order to revel in the thrill of battle for the longest possible time. It's why when fighting Ichigo back in Soul Society, he was matched in combat by a fraction of what Ichigo eventually becomes. In reality, Zaraki has always been one of the strongest forces in the entire universe, and once he unlocks his Shikai and unchains that potential by completing his ascension to the throne of Kenpachi, Zaraki no longer chases battles won through attrition. Zaraki searches for one single thing: blood. So much of it that none of that opponent remains. The greatest representation of a smoke demon there ever could be, Kenpachi could split an entire meteor in half, along with, somehow, a whole void of space. And the next thing Zaraki might split might just be an enemy defender after he spear kicks that soccer ball into the goal box. And just to add one more brick shithouse that could probably take off a defender's head with one missed kick is my boy Asta, the child who was born in a world of wizards and witches without a single lick of magic on his own. Yet despite fate cursing him with a guaranteed destiny of discrimination and vulnerability, Asta instead paved his own way by working out and physically pushing his body past the human limits, vowing to make a name for himself and somehow dream to take the crown of the Wizard King for himself. Asta symbolizes ego in the face of adversity, an unbreakable foundation that regardless of the obstacles or challenges in his way, pushes through regardless of and ensures he makes the best of every situation. And I don't think Manshine City holds a candle to Asta's build. Also, having something in common with Bachira, Asta also has an inner devil monster that can boost his powers significantly by helping him drive the ball right to victory. And last but not least, our final draft pick and the team's sponsor and personal benefactor, Seto Kaiba, somehow finding time to become a world-class soccer player on his off time between managing multiple high-level companies and, practicing playing children's card games to settle a grudge against the ghost of an ancient pharaoh. Kaiba created the concept of time travel from actual scratch and built an entire time machine just so he could transfer duel monsters and himself to the era of pharaohs and duel Yami Yugi one last time. At least Vegeta, when Goku died, had the common decency to train and, maybe just start a family on the side while he waits for Goku to come back and visit one day. You've got this rich asshole who is just working his employees to the bone, probably for minimum wage, so he can disrupt the space-time continuum and potentially irreparably damage history. And that's the exact kind of energy we need on this team, baby. Fuck bitches, focus on the balls, am I right? But even more importantly, Kaiba is petty. Petty enough to verbally declare a rule that every duelist who's late for his tournament's registration is disqualified, then immediately asking Mokuba to ensure Joey Wheeler is late to registration, without even pausing to take a breath between those two sentences. Not to mention, Joey's right fucking there in front of him when he says it. That is the kind of blatant selfishness we need to create some egotistical reactions. And that's all 11 players. But we're not done. No Blue Lock team is complete without a coach that's able to mold these diamonds in the rough into proper egoists. Someone who has their own indomitable ego to lead the charge. Someone that's not only selfish, but has the gall to rage soldiers into war with nothing on their minds but kicking that damn ball into the victory hole. There could be no better fit to frontman the storming of hell's soccer gates than Erwin Smith. The devil that wanted to fight for his dreams so hard, he was willing to climb over mountains of his own men to reach it. Shouting a speech so iconic, so classic, it inspires men and women alike to cast their lives aside in favor of the bigger cause. This time though, Erwin's soldiers aren't raging towards death. They don't rush towards impending doom or even a better future for humanity. Erwin Smith's Blue Lock team, crafted flawlessly by the gods of ego, charge forward to obliterate the entire concept of Japanese soccer and over the ashes build a brand new world. Or, you know, at least win the World Cup and maybe have a fun pizza party afterwards. Because I don't know if you forgot, bro, but this is just soccer. You probably should not be taking it this seriously ever in your life. You probably need to relax.